I would like to hear from you what you are doing, what's your, let's say, opinion, what's your view about all these activities that we have been suddenly, or we had to face nowadays. Okay, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Pilar. Thank you, everyone who's now been joining us for this first webinar at the UEC. And now I would like to introduce the presenters of this session. First of all, we have Aurora Varona Archer, who is who's been teaching at university level for 25 years. She works in Universidad Veracruzana at the moment, and she's been working in the Center of Languages in that institution. She's also a PhD in Applied Linguistics and English Language Teaching from Southampton University, and her specialty, or her research is related to practicum, teacher training at university level, and she's been giving presentations in Mexico and abroad. The next presenter is Michelle Riquelme Sanderson, who's got a PhD in curriculum and instruction, and he works in Universidad Arturo Prat de Iquique. He's an EFL teacher from Iquique, again, the north of Chile. He's graduated as a EFL teacher, and he's been studying in University of Washington, and his research is focused mainly on educational research, methods, and language teaching. We are also very lucky and glad to have him with us today. And finally, our presenter is Jasna Girlorn, and she's a doctor in pedagogical sciences from Universidad de Matanzas in Cuba. She's a lecturer from Universidad Austral de Chile. She's got a master's degree from University of Shenandoah in Winchester, USA. She's a English teacher, and she has got a lot of famous I don't know, work. She's probably most of you know, she published a book which is called Let's Go for English in 100 Fun Ways, which she has been showing all over the country. She's also got Fondecid de Iniciación. She's been working with that too. And she's in charge today. She's got a project with Sename en Región de los Ríos, in which she's in charge of working with kids. A very interesting and very important project too. And now, after introducing our amazing presenters today, we're going to start with the first one, who is Aurora Varona. Before we do that, please close all the microphones. We are only going to leave open the one for the presenter, and please write down all your questions in the chat section. Thank you. Aurora, shall we start?
Yes, okay. Hello, everyone. It's a real pleasure for me to be with you. And well, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Elizabeth Torrico for her kind invitation to share my experience in teaching, especially in these moments. And I think it's a very good idea to share with everybody what we are facing nowadays. I have had the opportunity to participate in other webinars as a presenter and also as an attendee, and I have seen that I think most of us, we have many things in common. So I hope that you find something similar with my experience, which I think is interesting to listen. And well, basically is what I am going to present you today. Creating diverse ELT teaching and learning environments, because For me, this is basically what I have been doing at this moment, because it's the COVID-19 experience. Okay, so I am going to start by explaining that I have 3 groups this semester. This semester is February, July at the university, and I have 3 groups. One is in the BA major in English, and another group is in the language center, and the final group that I have is in the School of Education, in the open system, and I also have just 1 group. And well, basically we started in February and we were working as usual until March 16. And in March 16, we had this news, as all of you know, about the coronavirus. And then the lockdown started. And then everybody had to go home. And we didn't know what was going to happen, especially in our classes. And immediately what we were told is that we were going to start teaching online. And we were wondering about this because, as probably most of us were taking courses online, like previous training, actually we didn't put into practice these courses. So this was the challenge of teaching online. And I started to feel like, I remember that when I was a child, one of the cartoons that I enjoyed a lot was the Jacksons. I don't know if you are familiar with the Jacksons, but in my time, I'm talking about the 70s, it was a very famous cartoon, the Jacksons, and I started to feel like I think the future was coming now in this 2020. Then, well, basically, I started to use the university technology resources. And one of those resources that the university offers to us is the Eminus platform. Eminus is the platform that we all teachers at the university use to communicate with our students by connecting with them and giving them assignments, reviewing things, their homeworks, and so on. So basically, this is our platform. And I have also started to use other forms of technology communication, such as Google Classroom, Teams, Microsoft Teams, which is a platform that all the students at the university are allowed to use. I also was familiar with Zoom and Skype. This one, Skype, actually was very familiar with me because actually I was also a PhD online student, and so in that way I could understand the importance of communicating by using technology. And then, well, basically, as a teacher, I have to start getting familiar with the different platforms, as I mentioned before, in this education environment. And I also have to enjoy those frustrating moments of successful works and meetings, like, for example, today, right? That I have designed a presentation and I'm not able to present at this moment. But, well, this is part of what we are facing now, technology. And as I said at the beginning of this presentation, basically, I have attended other world seminars, and I have also noticed how other presenters also have to deal with these unsuccessful situations of technology. And then I also started to investigate what means virtual education. And something that when I was doing my research in this distance learning education, I found an article, and basically here, something that I found, and I like it, it was that according to these authors, distance learning education needs to be varied. So we need to provide to our students different ways of looking at things, not just like in the classroom that, well, yes, we have probably a projector or we have things to explain to them, but this time needs to be a little bit different. We need to use other probably resources that we don't use in the classroom. Also, distance learning education is more complex. And what it means by complex is that we need to take into account many factors because it's not the same like interacting face to face, looking at the person to the eyes, to their gestures, face to face, like by online, which is, I think is a little different than when you are face to face. Another thing is that according to these authors that I'm going to mention, distance learning education needs to be more influenced by human, institutional, and sociocultural factors than any definition suggests. So this is according to Byners 1986, Doherty 1996, Fox 1998, and so on. Okay, so basically, these authors is how they explain the features of distance learning education. And I also found that some recommendations that Sharma 2002 suggests for distance learning education, such as creating an environment conducive to distance learning. So as teachers, we need to create an environment that helps the students to understand this education online. Also, facilitate the distance learning methods. We need to find ways, you know, to communicate with our students because, well, at the very beginning, some of my colleagues started to worry very much about how to establish communication with the students because the problem that some students have is that they don't have access to technology, or because they live in towns, in small towns, in villages where internet is not reliable, is not stable. So these teachers were very worried about this, and actually I was also worried because I also had students from communities where probably communication was going to be difficult. However, very few students of mine had these problems. And also we have to motivate students to continue their education. Something that we noticed from this situation is that some students drop out the subjects. They decided not continue, and they were allowed to drop out the subject because as in the administrative procedures and so on, they have the permission to drop out the subject without interfering in any of their grades or whatever. We also need to encourage socialization and promoting teamwork and team spirit. This is important because it's not just like working with them, just like presenting things and just with technology. and we forget the whole group. We need to promote that they work together, that they interact among themselves. And also very important, improving educational standards, because our commitment with our institutions is to have a high level of education, right? And that's why here I would like to tell you about the story of one of my groups, which I consider it was a story of success. And I say this because this subject is teaching, learning English. So that's the name of the subject, right? And these students are going to become either translators or teachers in the future. And when I started this class, my students thought this, they told me this: teaching learning subject was going to be boring. They thought that they were going to read, or I was going to give them a lot of assignments, and well, basically is what they expected, because most of them said also that teaching is not interesting for them. They don't want to be teachers. And that's fine for me, you know, because actually I consider that I prefer that to see students that dislike teaching, that students that probably in the future are going to become teachers, and because they didn't have another choice and they are not going to enjoy this, you know. So I really hope that these students that they say that they don't like teaching, they are not going to be teachers, and they are going to be successful in another field of English, right? But this is what they told me at the very beginning. But later, what happened after the classes started is that they said, well, teaching seems attractive and motivating to me. Why this happened? I am going to tell you this. How did I create this? Well, as I had the opportunity to use technology, I started to invite experienced people talking about teaching. So I called ex-colleagues, friends, ex-students to participate and share their experiences about teaching. And for example, I had a student that now he's the owner of a school, of an English school, and he explained how he achieved this, how he had to live before having his own school, you know. And it was very motivating for them to listen this. They didn't imagine this process, you know. And I also invited a girl that is working in China, teaching English, not Spanish. She's teaching English. And she explained today how much she had to struggle to find this place in China. So, you know, these experiences started and created trust, curiosity for them to listen. So my class is from 8 to 10 in the morning, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And at the beginning of this, I thought that I was not going to have students, you know, because sometimes because they are at home, they probably want to continue sleeping. But you know, after these sessions and also the previous sessions, my students were there. So I saw their commitment, their responsibility for learning. So this was something that I like to look at them. And finally, what I can say also is what I have noticed is the autonomy they have to respond to this situation of studying by themselves using technology. So for me, instead of facing this in a difficult manner, what I have experienced particularly with this group is a story of success. So basically, this is what I can tell you, and I have a slide that says, no matter how dark the forecast, every cloud has a silver lining. So I think that's what basically is for me, to learn that with these situations, we can find something that can teach us a lot. Okay, so basically this is what I wanted to share with you today. So thanks for listening.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, Aurora, for your presentation. And we have learned a lot from what you have said now. And of course, we're experiencing this sort of issues that we need to adjust and be ready to find a way to keep going with the technology. Thank you.
Okay.
And now we go on to Michelle.
Yeah, hello. Let's see if this works. I want us to talk about developing our identities as teachers. I want us to focus on these experiences as something new, as something positive, not as something negative. I don't want us to think more about that we are being stressed, we don't know how to do it, we have problems with our eyes because we spend a lot of time in front of the screen trying to read. Our students get tired, I get tired of being sitting all day. I try to look for strategies to be standing up. But well, so overall, I don't want to focus this presentation just on the pandemic, on the COVID-19. I want to focus it on uncertainty. I want to focus on it on things that we sometimes can't control, that of course cause us or increase the level of anxiety that we're going through, but how we can take a positive attitude of growth in our personal, in our professional area. And by growth, I'm going to be focusing on two things. All right, do you see the number, my fingers? On two things. Number one, to be on teacher identity. And number two, I'm going to be focusing on pedagogies. So, thank you very much. So for teacher identities, we have evolved. Just think about our own experiences. At the beginning, we were language teachers, language learners. Then we move on to language teachers. Then some of us who are working at the university are language teacher educators. Some others have evolved into language educational scholars doing research, and others have taken position in administrative roles. So that means that our identities can change. Our identity, as it says in the second paragraph, they can be developed, reconstructed, renegotiated in mediation within and in a context. So all of this, what is happening with us right now around the world, can you change it please, is affecting how we are, how we are going to be working on it. We have this kind of funnel that says that identities are going to be shifting according to the conditions. Therefore, they're not going to be stable, and sometimes they're going to be in conflict. And why are they going to be in conflict? Because you have experience, but then you get enforced or get in front of another experience, but you don't know how to act. You don't know what to choose. You don't know what makes you a good teacher. And how that happens again, click again 6 times. Because we have our own personal experience. There are going to be mediating factors such as gender issues, our families, our own context. because the social historical context, we can see from the crisis, from what is happening right now, political factors. And I'm going to stop here a little bit in communities and in practice, because from the social cultural perspective, when we are developing our identities, when we are becoming teachers, when we are working as teachers, as teacher educators, we are usually in touch with other people. We're usually in touch with our colleagues, students among their students, teachers among their teachers, teacher educators among the same group of teacher educators usually. And in that moment, it's when we create, we learn, we interact, we form, we grow, we evolve, we reconstruct who we are. However, we can see at this moment the realities of our communities and our practices is not what it was at the beginning of the year or last year. So that definitely is having an impact on how we are behaving as teachers, or as future teachers are going to behave in the future, right? And then it also has this issue of agency. The agency is like, what are my abilities, the capacity to act, to make decisions? All of those elements are going to take role in forming who I am. Sometimes we're going to feel frustrated and we don't want to do things. Well, that's going to be a little bit part of our agency to do things. Mauricio, please. And for that, I also want you to think, and probably you've had this question before, do you see yourself the same learner, teacher, educator from last year? Do you think you are the same? Do you think they are the same from March? Do you think you are the same from last week? I think from everything, the perspective that we have as teachers, language teachers, but also teacher educators, from my personal experience, it's different. It's not the same. And Juan is saying here he feels different in the chat box. Mauricio, please. So the invitation that I have is for us to observe how we are changing our identities, how they're being transformed, how they're being evolved, and how they're being reconstructed. And what are those elements? What are those mediating factors that we call in sociocultural paradigm that are going to be influencing who we are? But now, when something very important is like, okay, yeah, identities is who I am as a teacher, what I do in the classroom, how I identify, I see myself. But our identities are also reflected in our pedagogies. Click. And our pedagogies, click. There, thank you. So in our pedagogies, there's going to be a connection between both of them. My identities, who I am, is going to be reflected on my pedagogies, on the things that I do in the classroom. And the things that I do in the classroom reflect who I am. So at this moment that we are in a moment of crisis, of uncertainty, as I like to call it, is how I'm going to put myself as a teacher in my practice, in my pedagogies, and vice versa. How those pedagogies are influencing who I am as an educator or as a teacher. Mauricio, please. And when we think about our pedagogies, it's about our beliefs. What I believe is good, wrong in education, what I can do, what I shouldn't do. It's about our teaching approaches. What teaching approach I'm going to be using in this synchronic class? What teaching approach I'm going to be using in this asynchronic class? Am I going to give a handout? I'm going to record a capsule video. In schools, I'm just going to give a handout for my students to work on their own in the classroom. So we are reanalyzing and we are reconceptualizing what we're doing in our pedagogies. And that is also manifested in our practices, like how we enact our actions in the schools. Mauricio, please. I'm almost about to finish. So what is important at this moment? I think that the stage of English these days is looking beyond the language. Meaning, yes, we love that our students say hello, good morning, we sing, that they're able to do the if conditional, and I think that's amazing. But we are in a context that is asking for a social change because of everything that is happening. And I'm using the concept of concientizado by Freire, that we need to analyze our practices and how these practices are going to have implications in our pedagogies. Or as a colleague of mine asked a few years ago, like, what will be teaching for in the future? What are we going to be teaching for in the future? From now on, what is the purpose for next semester if we're going to do virtual classes? Are we going to try to teach for them to at least be able to, how do you say this, to manage a large amount of content? We're going to focus on developing the learning outcomes, the objetivo de aprendizaje from the students. But the way is how we're going to do it. We know that we have the ajustes, not ajustes curriculares, a curricular proposal by the Mineduc that we can use, but also think about these elements, because we are teaching our students to live in a new world. And we know that children, if I'm thinking about little ones, they learn by playing, they learn by movement, they learn by interaction. But if we have a single kid living in an apartment, in a home, how can we promote that learning? And that is a challenging question. I don't have the answer for it, to be honest. But what's the most important at the university level now is the current trend that the pedagogies that we teacher educators, the ones who are preparing new teachers, they need to meet the needs of the teachers working in the schools. It's not mostly about what the theory says, but make or consider what the teachers of the schools need for our knowledge base, what the things that our future teachers need to know and do. Mauricio, please. And let me show you just this very simple example. Yeah, you can clear it until the end. I did this practice with my students at the beginning-ish of the semester. And I asked them, so in Iquique, in my hometown, what do you think teachers need in order to work in our schools? And they gave me the traditional answer. So we need disciplinary knowledge, master the language, know how to teach, the curriculum, the context of the students, technological knowledge, etc. We went to the theory, or like we identified as a theory. Next one. However, at this moment, at this stage, I think there are three things that we need to pay attention to. Mauricio, please. One of them, the first one, I think that is going to be independent of what is happening, is going to be about the knowledge of self, of me as a teacher, how much I can resist as a teacher working in a school, like how much I can give, until what point I can teach, until what point I can be honest with my students and say, you know what, I'm collapsed, I can't do it, I didn't have a good day, we're going to try to do the best that we can. We know that in our students in these situations, families are not having jobs, there are unfortunately some losses of relatives, and that affects. And I think another challenge for us teachers is to start developing how to work with and through emotions, and developing social skills, the soft skills, the feelings, because we know that all of that we need to impact, there is an impact on the mental health, right? But we don't know perhaps how to do it, because we as language teachers are fabulously good at teaching them the grammar and very good in instructional methodologies, in writing, in speaking, and the activities are fun. But then we are making fun of this. So how? how I do it as a teacher, how I do it as a teacher educator, and how the student who is at the university can deal with this duality, because it has the duality of being a student, but also of thinking, because we give them assignments about plan a lesson plan for this particular grade. So there is, I think, a complicated path for our students. And the last couple of ones, and probably a lot of you have done this activity. When designing your lesson plan, pay attention to learning strategies, learning styles, and multiple intelligences. I bet all of us have done something like that, or all of us have been asked to design a lesson plan with this type of requirements, haven't we? And within this, we have, within multiple intelligence, within this theory, we have intrapersonal intelligence, interpersonal intelligence. We tell our students, please plan a lesson plan that includes interpersonal and intrapersonal. But does the teacher know about their own intrapersonal and interpersonal intelligences? Does the teacher know how to handle these two elements? I think maybe not many of us, including myself, have thought about how to do this. We say about being empathetic and nice and listen to the student, but how we can act, have more action upon, more agency on it. Mauricio, the last one, next one. And how we can include these two intelligences into our pedagogies as part of our pedagogies, because I think we're moving towards a new system. Click, Mauricio, please. Because if we go look at the blue X again, we have the personal and emotional growth. Oh, go back. The personal and emotional growth that is of the teacher, because I wanted to focus on the teacher today, that is going to have a different impact on the students. It's going to definitely have an impact on the colleagues, because we are not working the same way as we used to be or used to do. And then also the personal level. There's a personal, like, there are some teachers who we are going to a therapist, that we are taking medication because we suffer anxiety. So how we can balance all of that. And the last one. So in summary, what I want to end with my presentation, once again, was not about giving you tips, but looking at all these experiences as opportunities to grow, to look at ourselves, the new way that we have to learn as learners, as teachers, as educators, assess what is going to be important for our pedagogy, for you, because you're going to be teaching, and for your students, and for the context. Like, what the heck, what are we going to be doing? And that is a process. But that is a process that is a reflection of who we are as teacher, of our identity. Maybe some of you have heard that professor is not flexible, because maybe part of his identity as a teacher is not being flexible. Therefore, that is being shown in their pedagogy, in their instructions. And finally, I think we are teachers. We can speak very beautiful English. We can do super fun activities, but let's not forget that we have the role of being educators. We need to go back to thinking about humanizing education and keep preparing now the students for new contexts. And if we're going to continue the second semester with online classes for every single level of education, at least we are training ourselves. We are getting to know ourselves about how to do it and not make a lot of mistakes, or improve what we're doing from this semester into the following one. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this beautiful invitation. I'm very pleased and happy to be here. I believe we are all a little bit anxious with this technology thing, so I would like to ask you to choose 4 fingers and put your hand up. Can you see my hand? Yes? Put your 4 other fingers over there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Please repeat after me. Although I feel very anxious about technology,
Although you're very anxious about
This is
technology,
technology.
I'm sure everything will be all right.
I'm sure
Everything will be all right.
Okay, so what we are doing is tapping, and we're going to do it 2 more times, because if you do it 3 times, okay, your brain can adjust to the message. Okay, so let's go. 1, 2, 3. Although I'm anxious
Although
Although I'm
about
anxious
technology,
about
technology,
I'm sure everything will be all right.
I'm sure
I'm sure everything will be all right.
all right.
Okay, now 2 fingers in here. You can use both hands. I feel very anxious.
I feel very anxious.
I feel
Yeah.
I really don't
true.
like this.
I really don't like this.
I do not like this.
I really don't like this.
Here, it feels very uncomfortable.
It feels
It
very
feels
very
very uncomfortable.
My stomach hurts.
my
My
stomach.
stomach hurts. And it's true.
I get really, really nervous.
I get really
I get really, really nervous.
Nervous.
And now here, and I don't like this feeling at all.
I don't
I don't like this feeling at all.
Very good. Let's finish. Put your hands like this. Okay. I feel much better,
I feel
I feel much better.
Feel much better.
and everything's gonna be okay.
and
And everything's gonna be okay.
And everything's gonna be okay.
Stronger than technology.
I'm
I'm
much
much stronger than the technology.
Okay, thank you. This is some tap for relaxing. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I really
Appreciate
needed it. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Cool.
Please, I would like to start this presentation by reading you part of an opinion column that Francisco Catalan, a student of mine, and I wrote about what is happening today. And it's important for us to read it before starting talking about social affective skills, because it will give us the meaning of what education is for our society. Yeah? And it's in Spanish, but I think we all speak the language, right? En un contexto de pandemia, bajo un gobierno que promueve intereses económicos de sus empresarios por sobre la vida de su pueblo, resulta de vital importancia recordar la esencia de la educación, la piedra angular de toda sociedad. Educar es el acto de ofrecer y recibir amor con un grado de humildad, generosidad y compromiso inmesurable. Tal como lo indican las educadoras y escritoras cubanas Turner y Pita 2004, nuestra labor como maestro es confiar en los estudiantes y amarlos. Educar es comprender que la vida es el medio y el fin de toda experiencia humana. Por ende, la responsabilidad de todo educador consiste en cuidarla, protegerla, valorarla y engrandecerla en todo su esplendor. Educar implica comprender que la educación es un derecho humano y por ende requiere estar al servicio del educando y de la comunidad en que éste se desarrolla. Y partiendo de esta concepción, educar sugiere guiar, mediar el proceso de construcción del aprendizaje a partir del conocimiento previo y de la situación social de desarrollo de cada estudiante. Sugiere abrazar la diversidad y responder a ella mediante prácticas pedagógicas inclusivas que garanticen la justicia social, es decir, que tomen en consideración y aseguren el respeto a la dignidad del individuo y a sus derechos humanos. De acuerdo a múltiples declaraciones, convenciones y resoluciones internacionales, los individuos nacen iguales y tienen los mismos derechos sin distinción de ningún tipo. Estos acuerdos sugieren que los recursos y el acceso a las oportunidades sean distribuidos de manera equitativa y que los derechos de los más vulnerables sean protegidos. Educar es comprender que todo proceso de enseñanza-aprendizaje tiene como objetivo principal el desarrollo de la personalidad de los participantes en los ámbitos cognitivos, socioafectivos, motivacionales, comunicativos y reflexivos. Y de este modo la educación es visualizada como un proceso que prepara a los aprendices a aprender a conocer, a hacer, a convivir y a ser. Ginores, Adin y Turcás, 2009. Bajo este contexto, el maestro debe estar preparado para acompañar al estudiante, a las familias y a la sociedad en la formación de un ser humano íntegro que aprecie las emociones con la misma pasión con la que aprecia los conocimientos. Educar es ante todo comprender que el contenido que se enseña y aprende no se limita a los conocimientos, sino que abarca con la misma importancia los valores, las emociones, los hábitos, las habilidades y la creatividad. Okay, here we have this survival mode. This is a concept that teachers used. We are in a survival mode. That's why I use the same concept, right? And many of them have this fear of an empty classroom, yeah, because faces cannot be seen. Children cannot be heard the same way we were used to. Yeah, so there is this feeling of stress. You can press, please, move on. Yeah, thank you. This feeling of uncertainty, exhaustion, as I said, lots of anguish, stress, frustration, concern, fear, loneliness, and pressure. Yeah, many of them feel very pressured about this. And those are the challenges that they have presented to me, the ones that you can see in the tree. And many of them have told me that they have had to carry out some curricular adjustments, and that is difficult, yeah, because it's from one day to another. Making changes is always complicated for a teacher, but making changes in such a way without the supervision, without the help, without the support of others is even more difficult. And apart from that, they have this feeling of having to make those curricular adjustments in a very quick way, but at the same time, they have the pressure of feeling that the show must go on. I'm not sure if I express myself well, but this is what they feel. I mean, we have this need to go on. We have the right to make adjustment, but we have to go on with the contents. Some of them told me that contents are mainly related to knowledge, and that they have perceived, for example, a lack of emotional contents to be worked with. Emotions are not playing a crucial role in the classroom as they should. And another aspect that they have mentioned is the teacher's role in this process. Yeah, many teachers have told me, unfortunately, I haven't been able to be part of the process of deciding, for example, which curricular adjustment should be done. There is a teacher, for example, who told me I have to teach only reading and writing, and I'm not able to deal with speaking and listening because they only work through handouts. So she's very concerned about that, and this is frustration. That causes a lot of frustration on her. Some of the final conclusions that that this very brief research has given me is that teachers are very concerned about their students. They seem to be working a lot for them. They are trying hard to make a lot of decisions, to make the best decisions, to find different strategies. And they have obviously encountered many difficulties, such as the ones that I have named, plus others, such as, for example, parents' presence in the web, okay, in the camera, the intervention of parents in the classroom. Also, this idea of not knowing how to explain the handout that students have to complete. Those are some of the feelings that they have expressed. And something else that I would like to share with you is that there is a big difference between teachers' opinions in the university level and in the school level. I did not do more research on that, but apparently what I can see is that at the university level, teachers have more opportunities to make decisions. And that really makes a difference between teachers at university and teachers at school. Both of the teachers have a lot to do, a lot of work, but at a university level, there is more consideration towards what the teachers think, believe. They have opportunities to decide together and talk and reflect. And my final conclusions is that what I see is that teachers definitely require activities and strategies to focus on social affective skills. If you can move to the next slide, please, I would appreciate it. What do we understand by social affective skills? Yeah, this is, can you go on, please? This is our capacity as human beings to have positive relationships with others, to communicate ideas and feelings appropriately, to solve conflicts, for example, in a friendly way with others, to make good decisions, to empathize with others, and to promote peaceful and optimistic states of mind. Let me keep on reading this for you for a while. It says like this: es momento de comprender que escuchar y apapachar al otro en tiempos de angustia y de celebración es también sinónimo de educar en el más amplio sentido de la palabra. Mediante la contención, la mediación, la empatía, el trabajo en equipo y las variadas demostraciones de amor de cada entorno, en otras palabras, mediante la creación de ambientes de seguridad emocional, que nos recomienda la neuropsiquiatra Amanda Céspedes, 2020, las familias están educando y transformando los sistemas. Hoy más que nunca cobran importancia el juego, la pintura, la música, la danza, la siembra, la lectura, la relajación, la gimnasia, el diálogo y la meditación. Actividades que son innatas a la naturaleza del ser humano, pero que han sido olvidadas producto de la interiorización de un sistema que obliga a sus ciudadanos a pensar con más profundidad en la competitividad y productividad que en su crecimiento y bienestar personal. Y que son, ¿cierto?, las actividades que nos permiten desarrollar todas estas habilidades socioafectivas que he compartido con ustedes. Permitir que nuestros estudiantes y nuestros profesores tengan el privilegio de cuidarse a ellos mismos y a otros con la tranquilidad y la paz necesaria durante este periodo de pandemia no es solo una necesidad urgente, sino también un aprendizaje colectivo que es para toda la vida. Si se practica la educación emocional en el diario vivir, de ninguna manera la ausencia de las clases presenciales en momentos de angustias compartidas pone en riesgo los procesos de enseñanza-aprendizaje de nuestras niñas y de nuestros niños. Muy por el contrario, la educación emocional solo puede fortalecer la formación integral, el desarrollo socioafectivo, la comunicación, la comprensión del mundo, el respeto a la dignidad humana y la necesidad de convivir, la cooperación mutua entre los pueblos y ante todo el valor a la vida y a la igualdad social. Es momento de sentir, de brindarle el espacio a la alegría, a la tristeza, a la rabia, al miedo, a la frustración, sin desmerecer, por supuesto, la fortaleza de la sociedad de la información inclinada primordialmente al desarrollo de dimensiones cognitivas. So our proposal for today, based on what the teachers have told us, is that what teachers really need in this moment and what our students, our children need in this moment is to work with these social affective skills more than with specific contents. I'm not saying that we have to delete we don't have to consider, for example, tenses or colors or vocabulary related to hobbies. No, I'm not telling that. I'm just telling that this knowledge should be shared throughout certain activities. I will give you some example. I'm not sure if you can move to the next slide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just for you to know, here we have un taller de escritura en tiempos de pandemia, que es dirigido por un estudiante nuestro de Pedagogía en Comunicación en Lengua Inglesa. Es un taller de escritura, donde se escribe a través de material multisensorial, como el que ustedes pueden ver ahí, acerca de lo que nosotros sentimos en este momento. Él busca muchas estrategias de escritura individual y luego las combina con las escrituras y los textos grupales para mostrar el sentido de colectividad y trabajo en equipo. También tengo otro ejemplo de actividad, que es una actividad que hemos llevado a cabo con mis estudiantes en la universidad. No sé si, Mauricio, la puedes compartir. Es esto durante una clase. Ellos son todos estudiantes de Pedagogía en Comunicación en Lengua Inglesa y están tomando una asignatura que se llama Learning Teaching Strategies y la primera unidad se llama Professionalism in TESOL. So I would like to share with you an activity that was very successful for the students and for me, but I'm not sure if you can play it. Can you?
No, I can't.
No, you can't?
No, I can't. I
Yeah,
can
that's
just
okay. That's okay. Thank you so much. What we did in class was to, first of all, we had this belief that laughter therapy is extremely important. The use of humor, telling jokes, being close to students, telling stories. If you can show me the definition of laughter therapy, I would appreciate it. Remember, laughter therapy is a therapy that uses humor to alleviate pain and stress. That is in medical terms. But we also can use that in our classroom. It improves personal well-being and develops self-esteem, empathy, positive attitudes, very good relationships with others, cooperation, creativity, among other benefits. What we did in the activity is that we used this TikTok music, which is being very famous at the moment, especially during these moments at home in which the whole family participates. And we sang a very short melody which said that we loved English, and that was very simple, but we did it with the music and the movements of this TikTok activity, which is being very famous nowadays. It was incredible to see how the students showed happier faces, could express the willingness to see each other in the screen. And not everybody participated because I couldn't see all the faces, but the ones that were part of the activity at least smiled. And that is positive for a teacher. I also have a last activity, which was organized by a teacher of English in Valdivia, Álvaro Molina. I had the video to show the activity to you, but I know that since we have some technological problems, we won't be able to see it, but hopefully we have Álvaro here. So if I can share this opportunity with him, I would appreciate it, so that he could explain what he did in class. Álvaro was a student in our program, and today he works in a very, very vulnerable school, Escuela Francia, and he has been there for a couple of years, and he has had the opportunity to move and work in other schools, private ones, but he has said no, because he has understood the role he has in society and the vision of the profession. So Álvaro, please, can you introduce yourself a little bit more and tell us about the activity that I wanted to share with you, but hopefully you're here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jasna. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, so I'm checking just that my audio works.
Yes. Yes.
We can hear you.
Yeah?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, no problem. Go ahead.
Thank you. As Ms. Jasna just said, my name is Álvaro Molina. I am a teacher of English at Escuela Francia from Bolivia. And well, as Ms. Jasna explained, my school has really works with students with really low resources. And this quarantine time has impacted them very hard, especially the families, because they don't have internet access. Around 60% of them don't have this connectivity as we have. And well, within this context, it's really important to set really achievable goals for them, emotionally speaking, and also in terms of learning. And as a Department of English, we came up with this idea of having an international class with students from any country that they could join us via Zoom. And fortunately for us, some students from a class from Turkey, Izmir, Turkey, joined us in one meeting that happened, that took place last week on Friday. And this has had a very positive impact on students. They prepared during 2 weeks, and this helped them to change this routine that they had during this quarantine, that they feel really bad because they do all the time the same things. Especially they are not really willing to do homework, for example, or have classes, online classes. But this activity was really powerful for them, and I feel so happy because it came out really well. So the coordination we made with the teacher from Turkey was possible because of Facebook. There is a community on Facebook, an official one of it is international, and in this community, Mr. Burham and I are part of it. We got in contact because of that community, and we planned our class 1 week before via Zoom, and basically that was the experience. I have really good reports from parents. They have reported that the students felt really happy. They felt really, they had something in them changed related to English too. They also felt that the meaning of learning a second language was closer to them and more meaningful. And also they felt this change of routine, so that they are now more motivated to have the online classes because they are expecting to have another encounter, and they want to get prepared for that. Yeah, basically that. Thank you, Ms. Yasna.
Thank you so much, Alvaro. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm really happy to have Alvaro next to me and other teachers that I see. I think that this is a tremendous opportunity to work together, to feel empathy for our teachers, to understand that they are making the biggest efforts possible, and that maybe it's time for reflecting on the kind of curriculum we would like to have in the future, on the transformations that we need to carry out as teachers, and transformations that are not only related to what we need to know, but also to what we need to feel, to understand, to perceive, to touch, to smell, and see and listen. This is the main message that I have for you today. I would like to dedicate this presentation to all the teachers in our country. This is hard time for them, and I also think that they have played a tremendous role as doctors and medical staff as well. Yeah, so a big hug for them and my real respect and appreciation. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasna, for your presentation. And
Thank you.
now I would like to go into the round of questions, and I would like to work with the first one, which is mainly what the three presenters, Yasna, Michelle, and Aurora, suggest as the new curriculums, because now we see that from now on we have to teach using technology, right? Online distance learning. So what would be the components apart from the affective aspect that we have learned now, or we affirm now, that is a very important key element to introduce into our lesson plan, right? But what else would you suggest to add in this new curriculum? Any of you, Jasna or Aurora?
Well, I'd say, and I think after also listening to my partners this afternoon, is that basically for me, I think creativity is an important issue here. Creativity needs to confront ourselves from those moments that we want to solve certain situations and we have no planned, like we have something planned, but we try to solve that situation at the moment, and unexpectedly it works. And it becomes created because it comes from our inner part. I don't know if I am clear explaining this, but I think for me, and I think that's why I presented my experience, is because from something that I didn't expect, it turned in something positive with this group that I explained. So for me, creativity is very important.
Yeah, I agree. Creativity, also how to promote curiosity, because I think curiosity comes in hand with creativity. And this is something that I learned, but now I'm trying to relearn in terms of neuroscience, so how we can use those elements of neuroscience in order to help our students through the brain, and how General was saying about the emotions, to deal or to work with our students, because I think the typical way that we have trained, we have prepared teachers is we are very good at the language. Some of us have a little bit of problems with education, and that's why we decide to pursue other studies in education. But now this reality has shown us that yes, technology, perhaps at a moment we thought it was our friend, now we see that it's not our friend anymore. Like, we don't know how to use it, or even students are getting tired being on the phone all the time or being on the computer all the time. So how we can try to do other activities with it, and that comes in hand again with what Aurora was saying in terms of creativity. And I'm also going to push back again to what I said during my presentation, which is getting to know oneself. Because we are teachers, we are human beings, so if we don't know ourselves well, like how can we support others? So I think it needs to be a lot of reflection, not only about what it implies to be a teacher, but also what it implies to be oneself being a teacher. And that's why I address the point of teacher identity, which I think is something that we don't talk a lot about. And I think we should push a little bit for that conversation in our teaching programs.
Jasna?
I think it's very much connected with the kind of individual we would like to educate as a country. I think this is the best reflection that we can have during these times. A human being, the profile of a human being, we all agree with as teachers. And I'm pretty sure the majority of teachers in Chile would like to educate a human being with values, with emotions, with knowledge as well, with a lot of creativity, with problem-solving skills, with good habits, with ideas to communicate and live with others, mainly. I'm pretty sure about that. So we have to reflect on the fact that knowing why we are in a classroom, the reason why we are in a classroom is more important than knowing exactly what the textbook says on page 33, for example. This is much more important, understanding why I need to study, why English is going to be important for me, and being exposed to different possibilities such as arts, games, sculptures, storytelling, or I don't know, pictures, instruments, whatever life promotes should be included in a classroom. Yeah, and we should be able to make a comparison between the school and the society. The school is our society. Yeah, our school is life. Our school is the opportunity to grow up as better human beings. I believe that this is the great opportunity for starting this reflection, which is pretty much needed in Chile, and then make decisions in regards to our curriculum, which is not a curriculum designed to grow up individuals who are happy to be on Earth, who are willing to help each other, who are good at making decisions, who are good at sharing with others. It's a curriculum which motivates people to compete, actually. So this is not only a bad moment for all of us, it's a great opportunity to grow up.
Thank you, Jasna, for your
Thank you.
Can I say something? Hello.
Yes, yes.
Sí.
Can you hear me? Lucia, Universidad Católica del Norte. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. Your job is just great. I mean, for everybody, I have really enjoyed every presentation. And you were talking about reflection, and I think that at first I was like afraid of all this technology. For me, it's like, oh no, my God, this is a nightmare. But as you're saying, this is like now we have to looked at it as a benefit. Yes, I was thinking about English being a privilege for the ones who have more money in private schools and subsidized schools, for example. But now that we have these type of platforms, we can get in touch with people from other countries. And in public schools, they are also working with these platforms. What I want to say is that we can change, yes, this idea of the privilege that private school students have and students in subsidized schools to get in touch with people from other countries that learned English as a second language or are native speakers of English. Because as a teacher in a school, in a public school, if I'm using this platform, I can use it to get in touch with people from other countries, and I can get my students to listen to other students. And in a way, this pen pals that, remember we had these pen pals before, now we can do it on these platforms and give our students in public schools this opportunity that will definitely open doors to them and change their idea of like, I don't want to learn English, or I don't understand English, or why do I have to learn English? So I think that this is also something that we should reflect on. It's an opportunity for those students in public schools as well. I wanted to have that idea.
Lucia, thank you very much for your comments. I would like to ask another question. It has to do with the job we are doing. Most of us here are teachers or professors who work in pedagogy programs, right? So I'm guessing most of us have students in their final years, and we train them to work in classrooms with students, face-to-face interactions, right? And I wonder what is going to happen with those students that are about to graduate in this new means of teaching, new ways of becoming a professional, because we didn't have the opportunity probably to train them as teachers in an online environment, virtual learning environments, I think it is called, right? So what would be your comments about this new reality we are experiencing right now? Jasna, Michelle, Aurora.
Yeah, I can start if you want. This is a tremendous question. I think that's the biggest question we have in all teaching programs in this moment. Yesterday we had a meeting with different teachers from different universities, And at least we could conclude that all of us are facing the same issues and the same obstacles. It's not a problem that is related only to one university or to one program. It's for everybody. We are looking for solutions. It hasn't been easy because you need to take into consideration student situations. In our university, students are on strike in this moment. We have to take into consideration mentor-teacher situations in their classroom, which is not easy. Many of them are facing stress, anxiety, as I said before, and having a new person in the classroom observing and collaborating might be difficult. We are trying to find ways to approach the school community. I think this is the first step we have to consider, to approach teachers and see in what way we can start creating some plans for the students, for the pre-service teachers, I mean. And we are putting a lot of effort on collaboration, trying to find solutions together, not only in an isolated way, but with teachers from school, with jefe de UTPs, with teachers from university, with pre-service teachers. Their opinion is extremely important. In spite of all the obstacles that are happening, I don't feel that negative. I strongly believe that whenever transformations occur, there is always something that cannot be completed to the fullest extent. There's no way you can fight for your rights and transform and fight for a better system, because I'm not sure we're going to transform everything, but at least fight for a better system and do everything the same way with the same efficiency. I'm not sure this is possible, but the context is giving us right now the opportunity to make changes, and this is what matters. And our students, the ones who will graduate nowadays, will have the privilege to be part of this generation who will make changes, and will have also all the weaknesses that we can have in such a process in which opportunities are not the same. So I believe that we should work hard on autonomy. We should work hard on developing, first of all, we should work hard on believing in our students' capacities, on providing tools for them to work on their own. And the idea is not to provide lessons in which we explain issues. Virtual education is different from face-to-face classrooms. In here, what matters is conversation, is dialogues, is exchange of opinions, exchange of ideas, sing with the students, play an instrument with the students, move around, do some yoga exercises, but give spaces to differences within this new screen that we have in front of us. So I'm not that negative. I think that we have pros and cons, but especially I believe that this new generation, who is part of these changes that we are living, are very fortunate. I think they will have the chance to grow up as teachers with this experience of transforming the world. But we have no decisions, we have no fixed ideas. We are talking, we are reflecting, we are approaching teachers. This is the first step.
On the go, right?
Mm.
Thank you, Jasna.
I'd like to add something. I was also attending that meeting yesterday. And as Jasna said, we're all in the same picture. We have no idea how to do, but we heard some experiences, and this is something that we've been discussing also in my university, is how we are going to do it for the ones who actually need to graduate, because we also have the other different type of practicums across the curriculum. But one of the main takeouts that I got from yesterday's meeting in relation to these practicums is that every practicum for every student is going to be different. And why is that? Because every teacher is teaching English in the best possible way that they can have, according to the context, according to their students, and according to their own resources. So some teachers have been asking their students to just be with them in their synchronic classes. Others have been supporting the teachers with handouts. Others have been supporting the teachers with materials. Now, the only situation about this idea, which for me it sounds useful, it also came out yesterday, is how we are going to assess these students. Because generally when we're doing these practicums, there is a rubric, right? So, well, we cannot use the same rubric for all of our students because every student is going to have their own particular situation in working in the schools. So that's what I learned from yesterday. That was my biggest takeout. And also the conversation of what potentially can happen in my university as well, which the next step, the next discussion is, okay, fine, if we let our students to be with the teachers, because we also need to know what the teachers need, what the teachers want, what the schools want, just not say what the TPA wants. Maybe the teacher needs some support because the teacher is overwhelmed. But maybe another teacher doesn't want much help, but rather just like, please do this handout. So we cannot assess the same student with the same rubric. And overall, that was the answer that Yasna was yesterday there as a speaker, and the takeout that I got. There's not a clear picture, and every case is different. That's what I can share.
Aurora, thank you, Michelle.
I would say that in my situation, I would say that as these students will become teachers, they will have students from a different generation that are they are with technology since they are babies. So I said that they are prepared to face this. I think the ones that were not prepared for this and we were learners were us. But I think they will be very independent, and they will be the teachers for these new generations that are coming, which I don't know how they are going to be, but one thing that I am very sure is that they will be much better than us. So is what I would say about this.
Thank you, Aurora. I don't know if you would like to add some final words, because in honor of the time, we've been here for 2 hours, and because of the technology that got out of my hands. So I think at this point we should start thinking about final words, closing words.
Okay. Elizabeth.
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry about the count, but there is a mess here in my house, so I'm not going to show what it is.
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Yeah, this is Mauricio, like I said. I see Pili Franco. We haven't seen for a long time. We used to meet in Santiago in these meetings that had to do with the English Open Doors activities. And
Hello.
okay, I'm now the dark guy. I wanted to thank Jasna, Aurora, and Mitchell, okay, because of your very insightful presentation. You know what? When I came to this, I thought that I was going to be listening to maybe some new methodologies and techniques and all that, and maybe I thought it was going to be a little bit like that. But I'm so glad that you are so connected to what we are seeing in our classroom here in the UCM. Now that what we're dealing with is with people, and it's very funny because it's incredible that now that we are in this situation, we have this computer in front of us, is when we are closer to our students sometimes, because they feel more open to tell us how they feel. Maybe this has to do a little bit with I don't know, Russian staff with filter, I don't know, but they seem to be more open to tell us, and I can see, for example, in my classroom, where I don't see them, because I don't know if the same with you, but they don't open their camps, and you just teach no one. So, but when you talk to them, I have the feeling that they need something else than English, and when you give them the chance to talk to each other, okay, it's a great opportunity. Okay, that because they don't have that opportunity, they are, confined in their homes. They don't have the chance to meet with other young kids. So when you give them the classroom, it's a great chance for them. When you give them activities for work at home, then when the class is over, they continue, getting in touch with, and they have like a B world that is incredible. And the class is like the beginning of that. So I think that's very important, because our classroom is just the beginning of another world for them, and it's a different world. And this is going to last for a while. At least here in Antofagasta, we are suffering, a lot, and I have the feeling that we're going to be back till next year. So they have to face this, and I'm very glad that you are really concerned about that topic, because that's very important. There are many people who are very worried about other things, about, I don't know, whatever, but they don't care about human beings. This has to do with human beings.
Yes.
And I think that your presentation was very smart, the three of you. Thank you for your insightful contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mauricio. Thanks a lot. Yasna, you would like to say anything? Pilar?
Just thank you all for this opportunity.
Well, I'd like to thank all of you for being here and sharing with us all these beautiful experiences you have presented. And I think, that we share most of them, and we are facing, all of the situations you have, let's say, talked about. And I think after all this time, during this time, we have had the opportunity to learn, to be different, to be more conscious about the, let's say, the changes that our lives can have in a minute. Okay, we never expected this time to happen, but I think that now we have grown and we have learned that our lives can change in a minute. So I really enjoyed listening to you, because the same as Mauricio, maybe I was thinking about talking about these, let's say, strategies, evaluation, times, and all that. But I think that this is a more human conversation, a very beautiful conversation. And the teachers of English, we do not just teach English, but we are human beings, and we face and we have to deal with human beings, the students. So I really enjoyed it, and I thank you very much for let us enjoy this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.